there's still a block there based on what I'm hearing you say, based on what they're putting into their body, that regardless of the supplement that they're taking, the pathways to allow the body to really integrate the benefits or integrate what that supplement can provide are blocked. So there's nothing's happening with the body anyway.
Yes.
Shit,
yes.
Man.
Yeah. If more people take out things out of their system that are causing harm instead of putting stuff in their system, which I think is going to help, we'd have a better healthcare system.
Bless up to everybody. Welcome back to It's More Than Black or White. This is your host, Brian and Paul. Welcome. B, good to see you.
Good to see you, my man. Good to see you.
Can I just note here that at the time of this recording, I'm sweating like a mug from class this morning. And our boy Brian, our guy Brian right here, is going on a trip solo to some very special places. Brian, before we get into it, you want to just share with the people what the trip is looking like, bruv?
Yeah, man. I'm going to go venture out to the Balkans. So those who don't know what the Balkans are, if you look on the map of Europe or Italy, to the right of that, you cross over the Adriatic and you got the old Yugoslavia over there. Before I get down there, I'm going doing a day in Vienna to have a long layover. I like doing long layovers. So I like to explore cities for like one day.
Nice.
Especially when I travel by myself. No one's there to bother me.
I love that, bro.
Flying into Sofia, which is the capital of Bulgaria, and I'm going to rent the car and I'm going to go into Kosovo and do that for one day. It's a nice 5-hour drive one way and explore Kosovo, then drive back into Bulgaria. Then I'm taking a tour and doing all the 7 other countries around the Balkans.
That's freaking tip top.
And hopefully I make it back. And if not, it was real. It was good chatting with you all. I'll see you on the other side.
Well, look, man, listen, we've laid down some legacy here, bro. So, if whatever happens, man, we're going to keep moving this thing. We're going to keep replaying shit. And I think that when you come back, you're going to have a lot of great stories to tell and we'll share. So I'm just putting this out here. Safe travels, bro. And looking forward to when you come back and hearing all the adventures, man.
Appreciate it.
And you got it, bro. And speaking of adventures, today we have part 2 of glyphosate. And when we went into, if you have yet to see part 1, I highly encourage you. It'll be somewhere here with a link to go link and check out part 1. Part 2, we're going to go over some of the other issues or some of the other impacts of glyphosate. Did I say it right?
Glyphosate, you got it, my man. You're good.
I'm getting better.
You're good,
if you're watching part, you right, yo? Reps, man. I was saying in my sleep, I was like, glyphosate.
Yeah.
Glyphosate. And if you watch part 1, you notice how I messed that junk up like 7 times.
It's all right.
So just as a quick recap, so glyphosate is basically, it was, Brian, and correct me if I say something outside of what we discussed. But glyphosate was basically a weed killer. It was used as a way to kill weeds in crops, and then it was having actual damage on the crops. So they started creating genetically modified foods to be able to withstand it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So glyphosate is the main ingredient in Roundup, which is used to kill weed. Yeah. You knock it out of the park, my man. Good.
Thank you, bruv. So what we're talking about today are the other impacts, right? And Brian, this came about because Brian, I remember you telling me you did a presentation on this for the squad at Lifetime.
Yeah.
Right? So what was that like? Just before we get into the different parts, what was that like? And what was like the impact and reaction you had from the team when you were sharing these information about glyphosate?
They were like, "What the fuck?" Like because it's not really mainstream. I've been educating myself about this since like 2008 through the gurus that I've been learning under. So to me, it was like kind of like second nature, and I've always kind of stayed away from it. Yeah. But I always like to teach. I always like to up-educate our people, especially my staff at Lifetime. And I wanted to teach something different than what most people teach. So I brought in the slides that we showed on part 1, and just like you could hear a pin drop in that place. Everyone was like, "What the hell?" Like what? And it was like a mixed emotion. It was like, thanks for sharing, but like, also like, why is our government doing this to us? Like, why does it, why do they, why, what's the point of having this in this? And it basically, we said in part one, it comes down to money. It's quick, easy, it's efficient for killing things, and it comes down to money. You
Mm,
know, we like I said before, we don't have a government, we have a corporation. The
mm,
bottom money's the bottom line.
yeah.
You know.
It's wow, dude. Like, oh, man. And a disclaimer: some of the things that you're going to hear in this podcast may be disturbing, and we invite you to settle in, experience what you're experiencing as we go over these things, and know that there's things that you can do, which we're going to go over in part two today, that will support you in your health and well-being, regardless of what's happening outside of you. So, B, let's go into one of another impact. Like we already went through three impacts in part one. So what's
Mhm.
let's go over a couple more. Let's go over like several more, and then talk to like what people can do.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
what's another impact of glyphosate on people?
yeah. So
Their health and
glyphosate is, it's a huge endocrine disruptor.
well-being.
So meaning what it does, it just jacks up your hormones. It throws everything off. And there's a ton of correlation to the amount of glyphosate in a woman's urine and the birth defects. So the more glyphosate that's in a woman's urine, the higher the chance of a birth defect happening. So to go a little off topic here, to give you an idea what an endocrine disruptor could do,
Hmm.
one endocrine disruptor is something called atrazine. So this is actually found in our tap water, and you can just Google. You can Google like what does atrazine do to your body, especially to a male, and you can be like, what the hell? So it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. So we all heard about like don't drink tap water because it has fluoride, it has chlorine in there, but atrazine is huge. So there was actually a study that they did for 3 years, and they put 40 frogs being exposed to atrazine, and the level of amount of atrazine was well below the exposure levels that the FDA considers accepted to humans. So there was
Mm.
actually less atrazine that were given to these frogs that are actually in our tap water. So 30 of the 40 frogs were chemically castrated. Four of the male frogs turned into females and produced fertile eggs. So we are actually exposing this to our children, the people that we love every day. So it's another reason to not drink tap water. There's so
Somebody,
many reasons not to drink tap water. Go ahead, Paul.
yeah. So, man, dude. People will hear this, and I'm like, what's coming to my mind is all right. So people will use things like different water filters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with these water filters, are these water filters effective in helping to reduce the amount of atrazine in the water supply?
Yeah, I mean, like I used to. So the best water filters you can do, and I haven't done my research on this in probably like a good like 7 or 8 years. So maybe they have better water filters, but it was always
Mhm.
reverse osmosis water
I remember.
filters,
Okay.
so it clears it out. A lot of people they want to save a couple bucks and get like the Brita water filter, which is from my experience and from what I said when I learned about 7 8 years ago on this, it's just garbage. It doesn't get anything out.
Got it.
So spend the extra money, get something that has reverse osmosis in it.
And then because like for me, I'm trying to think of the water that I get now. And it's actually the reverse osmosis water. I go to Whole Foods
Oh,
and
cool.
I refill the my containers
Yeah.
rather than like having to recycle.
Hmm.
So listen, so some of the things that are really uh, living in me right now as you say this, especially what happened with the frogs, is I'm even thinking about a lot of the conversation about transgender, non-binary,
Hmm.
and like being like wanting to switch.
Yeah.
And I'm free of asking you like, hey Brian, is this what the cause is? I want to know for your perspective and your experience. Like, do you think this could be contributing to what's happening with like a lot of the confusion about gender and things like this?
Um, not to get that much into it, but
Yeah.
no, I don't
No.
think so. I don't. I
Okay.
think um, the one side note is to say is a frog is a lot smaller than us, but it
Yeah.
is interesting. If you look at like if you Google like what does atrazine do to a male,
Yeah.
it'll literally tell you on Google like it'll create ovaries in a male. It'll literally tell you that. There's no hiding it. There's no nothing. So, as far as giving birth, I doubt it.
Yeah.
I've never seen a biological man give birth.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh yeah, you can get pregnant." Yeah, until that happens, until I see it, yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah,
let's just
I
let's
was
just,
stretching because my mind was like, "Yo,
yeah,
is this the reason?" But now it's like, as you say that, I was thinking about wasn't there an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he was
yes.
pregnant?
Like it was called like 9 months, wasn't there something like that, where he was
Something,
pregnant?
bruh. I'm like,
Something like
"Yo,
that.
dang, man, was he drinking atrazine?" But
Yeah, yeah,
so this is interesting though. So in the tap water, because like there's a serious concern about tap water across the country.
sure.
So I see this as being like something that's even though the frogs, you're right, are smaller, like it would have an impact on people as far as like hormone levels. And now, so curious, especially with this, because I know there's like an uptick in like thyroid disease, thyroid disorders.
Mm.
Like, are things like this contributing
Oh yeah,
to that?
we're gonna talk about this. I have this down here as one of the points. You're jumping
Okay.
ahead, Paul. You're
I
jumping
know.
ahead, my man.
I can't help it. My mind, man. It's my mind, baby.
Yeah.
So, so
It's actually the next topic I kind of want to dive into a little bit, you
yeah.
know?
Tell me.
All right.
Yeah.
So remember we were talking about the shikimate pathway, the shimmy shimmy pathway, right?
Yeah.
The
Shimmy,
shikimate
shimmy, yeah.
pathway,
Shimmy,
right?
shimmy, shake me.
Yeah. So glyphosate actually disrupts this critical pathway in plants called the shikimate pathway. And one of the
Okay.
reasons around that, remember from a review from part one, is Monsanto said, hey, this is not going to have any kind of effect on humans because humans don't have the shikimate pathway, which is in the plants.
Got you.
Now we actually know that the shikimate pathway is in every single one of our cells and our bacteria in our gut. So this pathway produces three essential amino acids, which are known as aromatic amino acids. There's tryptophan,
Mm-hmm.
tyrosine, and phenylalanine. Okay, these are very important for our health. We've all heard of these, right? We have 20 amino acids, right? So food that is exposed to glyphosate are severely depleted in these nutrients. The big one is tryptophan, which is a sole precursor to serotonin. Serotonin, as we know, is linked to depression, violent behavior, obesity, learning, memory, happiness, sleep, and of course, celiac disease.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tyrosine is a precursor to dopamine and thyroid hormone. So many people have hypothyroidism, developing Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune disease. Basically, just your thyroid's burnt out.
Yeah.
And phenylalanine is a precursor to dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, which is like your adrenaline in your body. So those three, which is, we all have issues. I mean, you look at like probably the top 5 drugs in the world that are sold. One of them's got to be an antidepressant. Everyone that I know has some kind of thyroid issue,
Right.
especially women as they get older. And then just dopamine. No one has any
Right.
drive. No one has any like motivation. I shouldn't say nobody, but like it's we're on a decline in our
Right.
world.
And the tryptophan.
Mhm.
Wow, bro. So I'm curious, man, because like with all this, is this stuff like, especially as more research is coming out, are these things that start to that like medical schools and like the medical professions are starting to relay to medical professionals to have people be on the lookout for things like this, or is this just kind of like you gotta be in it to know it?
So, from my understanding and talking to a lot of doctors, and I do talk a lot of doctors about this, and they're
Yeah.
just like they just have this blank. Most of them have this blank stare on their face, like because they're not, and they'll tell you like um, they're not educated to the point to find the cause of something. Somebody comes in with
Mm,
the symptoms, like, all right, how can we get rid of the symptoms? But the underlying issue is still there. It takes a very like enlightened doctor, um, like we talked about, like the doctor that brought up the whole glyphosate issue. The
mm.
one that wrote the book, I'm drawing a blank on her right now. We talked about her last one. Um, Doctor, it's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, so like it becomes very. The doctor has to become very enlightened. Has to look outside the box. It has to be not conform to the system. And
Mm.
Dr. Sinef, that's one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
my
Got it,
favorite
got it, got
medicine.
it.
He drive me nuts. I don't have my notes up right now, but
Yeah.
when they start seeing all these issues, like there's two things you can do. You can either just kind of keep prescribing pills, or you can be like, all right, let me actually do my job and try to figure out what is actually happening in the body. In
Hmm.
our educational system, from what doctors are telling me, is they're not, their job is not to find the cause of the problem. Or they go through a couple things. Hey, let's switch up your diet a little. Let's do this. Let's relax a little bit more, de-stress. But like no one talks about glyphosate. No one
Right.
talks about these endocrine disruptors in our body. No one talks about like heavy metal toxicity. That later on, as they're doing more tests, maybe that would pop up, but it's not one of the first 10 things that pop up in their head.
Right. Dude, so this is so so what's coming to mind is, especially as I'm hearing about the different amino acid depletions,
Mm,
and the fact that really the medical professionals, like really their priority is elsewhere rather than really learning and really staying up to date with these things. I'm alarmed because even when I was training on a full time basis, like my female clients, like I would hear a lot of them talking about either hypo or hyperthyroidism, where their thyroid function is off. And then even when you were talking, when I heard you talk about, or I heard you mention celiac disease, I know that that's something that's really gaining, rising as far as
hmm
like what people are experiencing and like how they can process and digest food. So the question I have is, like, if someone's experiencing, like, say they're just listening to this, they're like, oh, this is interesting. Like, where do they start? Like, I guess, like, man, like, where do they start even looking into this to see if this
Yeah.
could be a viable, or like really determining in their body? Are there tests that they take? Are there certain things that they ask for? I know I'm
Yeah.
probably getting ahead, but like, I'm just like, my mind is just,
Yeah. So just
yeah.
do a quick background, like on doctors and their education. An average doctor spends 4 hours out of the whatever how many years they are educating themselves becoming a doctor on nutrition. So they know very little about nutrition. They know the basics. Eat good vegetables. Then some of them stay away from meat, which is not true. Just have very little nutrition. So if they have very little knowledge on nutrition, they have very little knowledge of what's sprayed on our nutrition, on our nutrients.
Mm,
So you have to really be like a detective when
yeah.
you're working with your health. And what was the question you were asking, bud?
So like, what type of tests
Mm.
would they get, or screenings could they get to determine if this could be a factor for them,
Yeah,
is
and
if,
the first thing I
any?
would do is I would cut out anything that's heavily sprayed. I would get rid of any kind of allergen.
Okay.
I would go strictly organic with everything. Yeah, you still get some cross contamination. Crops can get sprayed, but I would stay away from wheat. I would stay away from corn. I would stay away from soy. I would stay away from peanuts, alcohol, stuff like that. Anything that's really very heavily sprayed, and I would try to get rid of as many as those spray crops that had the glyphosate on there, or any kind of other pesticides, herbicides, fungicides on there.
Dude, peanuts.
Peanuts are very heavily sprayed. If you're gonna do peanuts, don't do that jiffy shit. Like that's just like sugar. That's like a sugar legume. I
Gotcha.
would
Yeah.
go, I would go into more organic and see how you do with that.
Yeah. So it's wild. My former girlfriend, she was the one that first got me. She started talking about all this stuff like, oh man, don't use Roundup. And I was like, girl,
Mhm.
shut your ass up. What do you know,
Yeah.
man? And then like, she really, thank goodness she was patient. But she got me to realize, like, man, what the impacts of these are, right? And she also, like, when you, as you say that, I remember we were at Costco one time and I was looking to get peanut butter and I was going to go for the Jiffy. She was like, there's
Mhm.
too much stuff in there. It should be peanuts and whatever. Like, there should be as few ingredients as possible.
Yeah.
And I remember on the organic, I think it was like peanuts and something else and one other ingredient, and that was it. Compared to like Jiffy that had like 12 different ingredients of some shit I could barely pronounce.
Yeah. And
So
anyway, you rather do almond butter than peanut butter anyway. Peanut butter is an omega-6. It's for most people it's going to be pro-inflammatory. So you rather go into almond butter.
Got it. Oh, by the way, I had my last bit of oat milk today. Last thing of
All
oat
right.
milk. Switching to the goat, baby. Bye. Let
All
me see. But
right.
like, switch it to the goat, baby. Switch it to the goat.
Love it.
Um. Okay, so focus heavily on that. Okay, B. Thank you, bro. Thank
Hmm.
you. What's another impact?
Yeah, detoxification of the liver disrupts it. So you have something called the cytochrome P450 enzymes, which are produced in the liver for detoxification purposes. They detoxify like drugs that people take, not like marijuana drugs. I'm talking like more like prescription drugs,
Okay.
cellular metabolism. And it creates homeostasis with it throughout the body. So these glyphosates, they disrupt this process. So a simple example would be like the activation of vitamin D. So when you measure vitamin D in the blood, you're actually measuring the form of an activated by the liver. So I'm sure you've heard like, through your coaching and everything like that. And I've certainly heard this that people are having a massive vitamin D deficiency in our country in the last like 10 to 15 years.
Right.
So what's the solution to that? We just crank people up now with just vitamin D. We're overloading the body. So glyphosate actually is preventing vitamin D to getting activated. So I'll get a little more into vitamin D in a second, but the P450 pathway enzymes also break down something called retinoic acid, which is in the liver, and it's blocked. When it's blocked, it can cause inflammation in the esophagus. More and more people are actually having trouble swallowing these days. It's actually one of the biggest diseases or issues that are coming up with people. Their esophaguses are getting inflamed, and this retinoic acid actually causes infertility and birth defects as well too. So, because our liver enzymes are all messed up, the bile in our liver, which actually leads to fat absorption problems, which has an effect on our fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, K, as well as omega-3 fatty acids and other kind of fats, we're all at risk of becoming more deficient, leading to higher acidity in the gut, which leads to certain types of cancers. So I said a mouthful there. So basically, in a nutshell, this poor P450 pathway gets blocked, or all our fat soluble vitamins are not able to be used as they're needed to in our system. Because of this, it creates more higher acidity in the gut, which leads to a lot of cancers down the road.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Um. All right. So what I'm hearing you say is like the prime functions of that vitamin D that our body gets to take in to be at that optimal level of health and wellness. The glyphosate is blocking those key functions,
yes,
which when the body's without those key functions, that's ripe fertile ground for cancers and things like this.
yeah, because it raises acidity in the body. Yep. And like people like, I mean, every cell has a vitamin D receptor
Yeah.
from what I learned in my research. And vitamin D is actually acts as a growth hormone. So if you're on this like listen to this podcast, you want to have like a better body composition, and you lack
Mhm.
vitamin D, like good luck,
Yeah.
because it's a natural growth hormone in the body. It's a natural steroid in their body. Helps you
Mhm.
burn fat, helps you build muscle, and people are just and then the problem too is like you take a vitamin. Most people take a vitamin D and they take a synthetic form of vitamin D, like they go like D2 instead of D3. They don't know the difference, so they're
Mm.
actually causing more harm to the body.
Mm.
So yeah, you need to have these fat soluble vitamins in your body to prevent cancers, prevent a
So
lot of
B,
other issues,
I'm sorry, what's that?
to prevent a lot of other issues too, health issues.
So B, man, so people are taking these vitamins like because there's a deficiency. Yet if they keep taking these vitamins and it's being blocked, like what's going on?
Most people take vitamins and nothing gets used in vitamins. As most people take supplements and it's not doing anything because they're taking supplements and with their breakfast in the morning, and they're eating Cheerios,
Ugh.
which is like loaded with glyphosate. So it's like
Uh,
they're pissing out 99% of what the supplement is.
it's
That's why
like,
it's like
yeah.
that's why people are like, I'm not a bit like, I think supplements are good, but you can't out supplement a shitty diet. like, hey, let's start taking things out of your body. I'm not gonna put you on a supplement if you're not gonna stop eating pizza or breakfast cereals or soy-based products. There's no point. You're throwing money out the window.
Right. What
You
are you
know,
doing?
fix your. But people want that. People want to eat the same foods and just like, oh, give me this pill so I can fix it. This is
Right.
what we talked about before. Like, you mentioned this in one of the first episodes. Like, people go to the doctor and they want this tangible thing they want to leave with.
Right.
People think like this supplement's gonna, fix everything. And even if you get rid of all these products that have these pesticides on it,
Right.
chances are you're taking a supplement that's just crap supplement anyway. So like if you go to like listen, I'm saying this because I worked at Vitamin Shop. I worked at what's the other one? I forgot the other one off the top of my head.
GNC.
GNC. I worked there when I was younger, and
Yeah.
most of their supplements are just like soy-based crap. Like
Not
Centrum. I remember like
production.
Centrum when I found out it was like packed with deodorant, and it's causing a lot of stomach issues. Like it just
Centrum.
garbage. Yeah, they used to pack it with like deodorant on the outside, and that's why that was like almost like an emulsifier. And it's just like even when you do take supplements and you think you're doing the right thing and you're cutting things out, it's still either not doing anything or it's causing more harm to the body. So that's why it's very important to have somebody that knows supplements and knows the good quality of supplements to kind of aid in the process, not do the exact opposite and pissing away money.
Bro, this is so, man, dude. This is alarming, and at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I'm excited. I'm happy to be hearing this, so I can support more people and help more people. In what
Yeah,
resonates what you're saying, and like, yo, looking at the diet, like
yeah,
looking at the fuel, looking at the fuel. I'm like, I don't know about that word diet. I'm like iffy about it, but like looking at the fuel that they're putting in their body, right?
mm-hmm.
Because like I think it's and with that supplementation, I think it goes still to that piece of the doctor point. Like, okay, I'm gonna go. I have this condition. Like, okay, I'm gonna take a medication, and for people that are like, I'm not gonna take meds. I'm gonna take supplements. There's still a block there based on what I'm hearing you say, based on what they're putting into their body. That
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the supplement that they're taking, the pathways to allow the body to really integrate the benefits or integrate what that supplement can provide are blocked. So there's not nothing's happening with the body anyway.
Yes,
Shit,
yes,
man.
yeah. If more people take out things out of their system that are causing harm instead of putting stuff in their system, which you think is going to help, we'd
Yeah.
have a we'd have a better healthcare system. We'd have a
And
better
so
overall health.
and I know we got a couple more we got one or two more
Mm-hmm.
impacts. I want to come back to something that from a past episode we talked about fasting and detoxing.
Mm.
So how would that play in helping people to well, would a detox or fast support people in helping to eliminate the glyphosate out of their systems?
Yeah,
How does that happen?
yeah. So basically what a fasting will do,
Yeah.
it'll get rid of what they call like misfolded proteins in your body, things that can kind of like turn into cancers later on. I would go first thing I would do. You can't detox something that you keep putting in your system.
Mm,
You
right.
need to kind of be. This needs to be like a wake up call for you. Like again, no gluten, no dairy. I would get rid of the dairy, soy, peanuts, whatever it is we talked about,
Right.
corn, and then go into the fasting, and your body will naturally want to heal itself. It'll put yourself in like a homeostasis back. There's a
Mm,
couple other things you can do too, which I have at the end of this talk that you can do as supplement form that'll help you get rid of some glyphosate issues
okay.
within the body. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I'm a big fan of fasting. Um, I've never, to be honest with you, I've never done it before
Yeah.
because I like to eat and I have no health issues. But if I were to come down with a health issue, I would definitely do. I think we talked about this. I would definitely go into intermittent fasting because a lot of the research out there is just so strong on it.
Right.
I would do every month. I would probably do or every 2 to 3 weeks. I would do like a 2 or 3 day fast to get into a different level of detoxification. Because remember we talked about like
Mm.
the couch analogy or the carpet analogy. So like when somebody walks on your carpet with like dirty shoes, you can take a vacuum over it, which will get rid of the clumps. That's like a regular intermittent fasting, a little 1 day fast. But now you still have the stains on it. Doing a 2 or 3 day fast is like almost somebody coming with a carpet cleaner and scrubbing out all those marks so the carpet looks fresh. That's the best
Mm.
analogy I can use, and that's kind of what
That's a
David
great
Sinclair
analogy,
kind of
though.
mentioned.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, man. That's a great analogy because it's like what I'm hearing in that analogy is there's different levels of depth in that fast. So I
Exactly.
dig
Yeah.
that. I dig that. B,
Exactly.
what's another impact that glyphosate can have, man, on the
Yeah.
body?
So cobalamin, molybdenum, iron, zinc are all minerals that are needed for certain enzymes to do important things within the body. So glyphosate chelates these minerals. Remember what the chelate was? The chelate means to grab onto. Chelate is the Greek word for claw. So it grabs onto these minerals and it forms
So
a
it's like a
cage.
Velcro.
Yes, yeah. And it
Yeah.
forms like a cage around these minerals so that the good bacteria in the gut can't get to them. So it almost like the good bacteria wants these minerals and is trying to get them, but glyphosate forms like almost like a force field around these minerals, so the good bacteria can't get to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when they can't get to them, the gut becomes deficient, and the good bacteria actually starts to die. And that bacteria is the ones that kill and break down phytates. So phytates are like what causes mineral blocks and mineral absorption in the body, which is also another thing that's in wheat. So phytates become more abundant and also chelates to these minerals. So many people have like, I mean, this is another thing that we talk about along with vitamin D. Many people have these vitamin B12 deficiencies.
Yeah.
And cobalt or cobalamin, sorry, and cobalt is the precursor to B12. So, and molybdenum is involved in sulfite detoxification. And if you
Yeah.
remember from the first part, when sulfite can't get converted into sulfate, there's a direct correlation with a link with autism. And this is why the autism numbers are very high these days, right? We brought the chart out last time, right? Remember, like in 2000, I think 12, it was like 1 out of 150 people
Yeah.
have autism. Now it's like 1 out of every 28, 29 people have autism. By the year 2034, they're predicting 1 out of every 3. And what they're doing is like, again, from the first part, when they look at the cerebral spinal fluid of these postmortem people that have autism, there's no sulfate in the cerebral spinal fluid, and this leads to a lot of issues, which cause a huge histamine release and leading to inflammation in the body. So you need that for the gut for the bacteria to detoxify sulfites. For example, in wine and other foods that people have added sulfites for preservatives.
Yeah.
All right.
So what I'm hearing is so this. Dang, bro, it's like what from what you were talking about before in that impact, and then what you were talking about right now, where it's like that component forms this barrier. So even if that component in the barrier wants to get out to benefit the body, this barrier is like, nah, son, I'm
Yeah.
gonna hold you in tight so you can't do shit. Now the
Yes.
body's like, I'm starving.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get some love? No,
Yep.
you can't. So
Yep. Good
these life,
bacteria starts to die. Yep.
dude, it's crazy, man, because it's like glyphosate is shutting down all the benefits, all like
Mm-hmm.
everything that we do. If we're failing to look at these components that contain this glyphosate or that are coming into the body, glyphosate has the ability, from what I'm hearing, all like collectively speaking, is it has the ability to shut down all the benefits to whatever you're putting in that could benefit your body. It's shutting it all down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just
One
freaking
of the other
crazy.
things that like people have like a sulfite issue when people
Yeah.
start having like faster heartbeats, they're wheezing, hives, dizziness, stomach is upset all the time, diarrhea, um, tingling or difficulty swallowing. That's all because it leads to a huge release in histamine, and therefore leading to inflammation within the body. So a lot of people are getting these like weird reactions that they didn't get before 2006. They're like, why all of a sudden am I getting all this stuff? And it's so weird. Like every year, people are like, I never had allergies, but this year it's killing me, or this year it's so much worse. I'm like, and
Dude,
this is a huge reason. This is a
bro,
huge
I
reason.
hear that so much, B.
Yeah.
I hear
Oh
that
yeah,
so much.
I've never
People
had
are
an
like, I
allergy in
never
my
had
life.
allergies.
Yeah.
Huh?
When I first heard about this stuff in 2008, I was like an alarm went off my head. Don't get me wrong. Do I eat gluten every once in a while? Yeah, I eat gluten every once in a while. I'm not like, strict, but like I pay attention to what do I eat. And I would say, 99.99% of my diet is organic, gluten free.
Right.
So I've never had an allergy in my life. Like I don't know what it's like to have like when people go outside and their eyes start running and their face is all swollen up. I have no idea what that's like. I feel bad for them, but I
Right.
think a lot of it. Sure, you can be more immune to it. Maybe you've had the allergies when you were a kid and before 2006, but like I would, again, go back to your nutrition.
Damn. And how is
Mhm.
this? How does this? We're talking about adults, right? Like, what is the impact that this has on children, man?
Oh man, yeah. So, and if you notice now, like a lot of kids are now getting a lot of acid reflux because one of the problems is they can't oxidize the sulfate to make they can't oxidize the sulfite to make sulfate, which creates a sulfate deficiency. So like what's in baby formula? You got corn, soy, all this like GMO crap with lots of Roundup in it. Then you have the adults who are drinking Ensure, which is an adult version of baby formula.
Right.
you know?
Jesus.
So like a lot of these kids like yeah, I mean kids get sick because they're trying to build their immune system. I get that, but I've talked to doctors before, and we're like, it's an alarming rate at what these kids are going through. Like everyone's all of a sudden like very like colicky, like trouble breathing, like almost like wheezing at night, constant ear infections, all this crazy stuff, and they don't know what's causing it. And I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor, but I'm going to go out on a limb. It's probably the fuel that you're putting in their body that's leading to exacerbating this issue.
So, so something that's coming to mind for me, right, is like with the health and wellness and concern. Like one of the things that's constantly on my mind is in people of lower socioeconomic status,
Hmm.
where there's things of the food that's donated or food that they can afford is usually the food that's high in
Hmm.
like these different components that you're talking about.
Because it's cheap.
Yeah, it's cheap,
Cheap.
man.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like listen, I know you. So, the reason why I'm saying this is because like just to be blunt is like when I look at a lot of the lower socioeconomic communities, like the black and brown communities, like for lack of a better term, like the lower class, right?
Hmm.
Where there's a survival component of like, yo, I just need to eat and like I'm gonna get whatever's there.
Sure.
That it's like those things, whatever's there, is actually damaging that community more than like taking the time to get something that is whether I want like something that's more expensive for this
Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
So I want to take a transition and start to look at what are the things that people can start to do, like to be able to offset this, regardless of economic status. Like we can go into that in another episode, but I'm just looking at like what are the things that people can do, and maybe like it's looking at like the lowest cost the lowest or the most cost effective way to start to address like what's happening or what's going on in our bodies up until the most like whatever. Like what would be your suggestions on what people could start to do to
Yeah.
offset this, bro?
I mean, of
Take care
course
of
you need to
yourself.
eat. I'm not saying, don't eat any of the food.
Right,
That's
yeah,
just
yeah, I get that.
that's just dumb, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, bro.
yeah,
But
we're
I mean,
gonna
like, listen,
starve ourselves.
and some people and some. I'm glad you said that because some people, after that comment I just made, some people may ask, like, "What do you want me to stop eating?"
Yeah.
No, jabroni. I'm just saying, like, yo, pay attention. So,
Yeah. I mean,
um,
certain things I would do is like, you can't like listen, you're in a tough situation. Uh, Obviously, keep eating, keep fueling your body. You need to survive. But there's other things you can do. Like I wouldn't put like sodas in your body or juices in your body or anything with like sugar. I would try to. You want to detoxify as much as you can. That stuff. Water is the best thing for detoxification. I would just
mm,
drink just solely water.
okay.
We talk about this for a little woo woo, but you got to create a positive environment around you. You have to create
So
positive
you're
thoughts.
ginger ale, because bro, I love some ginger ale now.
Yeah.
Did you? I gotta cut that out, bruv.
That's a lot of sugar in there, man. It's not ginger.
Even if I cut it with some water, bruh, like I still, come on, man. Yeah, I got a little
Yeah,
ginger ale, bruh.
you do you. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, listen, a little sugar is not gonna is not the reason you're gonna have these
Yeah,
issues. So like just in modification. I
right.
know people
Yeah.
that drink a 2 liter bottle of ginger ale, and like you're probably putting 100 grams of sugar in your body at that point. You're
Dude,
just
it's crazy.
destroying your immune
So on a
system.
side note, bro, can I tell you? Because I
Yeah.
stopped drinking alcohol for a bit, right?
Hmm.
So when I go out, like I'm like, I'll have a ginger ale. And when I first started doing it, I was like, God damn, this is sweet as a mug, man.
Hmm.
This is like
Yeah.
all syrup. So it's
Hmm.
like to the point where I gotta ask them to cut it with water because it makes it more tolerable to me, man. I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, bruh, like what the so anyway, thank you for that, man. Thank you for letting me know I gotta give up ginger ale.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, man. But, but like, yo, so cutting out sugar, man, drinking more water. What would you say some other things that people could do?
Sleep. You gotta rest. You know, that's
How
free
does sleep
stuff.
play a role? What is that?
Yeah.
How
So
does that?
remember we talked about circadian rhythm. So between the
Yeah.
hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., your body goes through a physical repair. So like your
Oh,
immune cells, they attack your cancer cells, muscle organs, hormones. They all start healing. So if you're missing that 4 hour window in there. Your body's not going to detoxify as well. It's not going to be able to heal as well. So definitely getting to bed before 10 o'clock is going to be huge. You know, I would
hmm.
try to get rid of, try to stay away from a lot of like, having cell phones by your bed at night because all that electromagnetic frequency is keeping you awake whether you realize or not. It's not letting you get that deep REM sleep, that
Huh.
rapid eye movement sleep.
Okay.
Little stuff like that, and that's these are all free things you can do no matter what your economic situation is.
So sleep, more water,
Cutting out sugar.
cutting out sugar. Any other thing that you recommend that you would that could be whether cost effective or not, like that can offset what's going on with the glyphosate and like the stuff that's in our foods right now.
Cost effective. If money's not an issue, just get rid of all anything that causes any kind of allergen: corn, soy, canola, sugar beets, alfalfa,
Yeah.
you know, milk, anything it's an allergy to the body.
Right. So I know, like you told me, man, like when because listen, man, I'm Brian's a wealth of information, so I'm best believe I'm gonna freaking get my tap in. So I've been drinking oat milk, thinking like it's a better alternative because my freaking gas, if I have whole milk, will blow up this house, son. So
Yeah.
Brian talked to me about goat milk. So, Brian, is there any other type of food that people can pivot to that you'd recommend that would be like the goat milk, like how you had me pivot to goat milk?
Uh, in a tough economic situation,
Yeah,
um, just try to get more vegetables in your diet over other kind of starchy carbs
yeah,
like potato chips. I mean, this is like just basic knowledge. Anyone with like two brain cells knows a vegetable would be better than a potato chip, right? But
yeah, yeah,
but I would try to be more aware of that. Anything that's gonna help detoxify the body. And
yeah.
vegetables are great at detoxifying the body. Yeah. Stop wasting your money on supplements until you can get your diet under control too.
Yeah. All right. That's like so. Thank you for that, man. And listen, people, I just want to let you know, like, especially if it's an economic situation, regardless of what the situation is, like, there's a lot of different markets out there, like Lidl, I think it is, and like, if you have a Costco membership, a lot of times they have stuff out there that you can get the veggies at a relatively good price.
Mhm.
Farmers markets, depending on where you are, sometimes those those are good options too. Like and also started to what I think was pretty cool. Like towards the end of like my juice businesses, I started going to visit farms because and it's like you speaking this from like a more than black or white perspective. This is like, look, man, this is going out and really getting to see what the soil, what the environment is like that they're growing their veggies in,
Yep.
because a lot of times like we like people can label anything. Okay, like
Mhm.
people could label something organic and it may not be organic. So
Exactly.
get an idea, like wherever you are, wherever you're listening to, like look up, use Google and find some local markets that you can go see and go see what they're doing and where they sell and how they sell, or even co-ops. Like a lot of different communities now have these co-ops where they chip and they put money in and they buy things in bulk. So it's a great economic option for you to get quality things, and also it's a great sense of community because now it's like you're getting these different veggies, these different fruits that
Yeah.
you could start to work with, make different recipes, and it's a great thing, a great way to work with.
Yeah. Kind of double click on what you just said there too is like, farmer markets, yeah, it's more organic. So when something's more organic, it's more nutritious. It has more dense nutrients in it. So if you get, for example, like like a pound of broccoli or whatever like that,
Yeah,
and that's non-organic, it doesn't have that much nutrients in it. So you spend a little more at a farmer's market or a little more in organic, but you have so much more nutrients and you can't eat as much. So like when I have people like when people are like, I'll do anything to change my composition, I'll do anything to get better. I have them switch to organic, and they
yeah,
can't eat as much because
right.
it's so nutrient dense in it.
Yep.
Like one chicken breast is usually they can eat like three of the where the shit chicken is, like Purdue or whatever or
Yeah.
Tyson's chicken,
Yep.
and they can eat like three chicken breasts of that, but they can only eat one organic chicken breast. So really, I mean, not that they're saving more money, but price to weight to organic is not as bad as you think it is.
Boom, bro. Boom, boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom. So B man, like as we wrap up, is there anything else like you wanna tap in? Any last words you wanna leave with this? Because I know like you put the research in on this, man. So I appreciate like the knowledge
Mm-hmm.
that you shared for with the peoples in this podcast. Anything else like you wanna express that can support other than what you said
No, I
already,
mean,
or
like,
something you
there's
want to
so much.
emphasize?
We just scratched the surface. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like, I could talk about probably 20 or 30 more issues I've seen and studies that came out and it's certain things. Our goal here was to kind of open your eyes. Like, what is glyphosate? What is it doing? Because chances are somebody out there, maybe if you're listening, you have an issue and you have an underlying issue, and you've been going to doctors and you've been doing all this other stuff. You've been trying to fix it on your own. You don't know what it is.
Mm,
Glyphosate is becoming more of a household name
yeah.
as the years are gone by because of Roundup. Um, but our job here is to inform you.
Yeah.
What you do with this information is totally up to you. So like knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. So
Mm,
use what we have here. If you're having some kind of underlying issues, try taking away, like the corn, the soy, the wheat, the milk, the canola, the sugar beets, the alfalfa, whatever it is. Try to get that stuff out of your system.
mm,
Reach out to us, leave a comment. We want to hear how it's going when you start getting rid of all this stuff.
yeah.
And reach out. Like I said, reach out, leave a comment. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, and speaking of that too, like, because Brian, the thing that's coming to my mind, I think what maybe something that we could start supporting people is as you're listening to these videos and you're like, yo, I want to make a change, yet I'm uncertain as to what to do to make the change. Just put in the comments like I could use support, and then either Brian or I will reach out to you, and then we could set up a session to either support you, coach you, set something up to help you start to align to what is suitable for you. Because as we listen, like Brian said, like our thing here is to support you. What you do with it is what you do with it. Because each one of you out here watching this is different. You have a different makeup, you have different situations. Our job as professionals and as people that we're men of service, man. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to support you in you get into your best health and well-being, because that supports our community, that supports our collective. When you're operating on a higher level, you're operating on a higher level. So that's going to shift in how you're relating to your family, how you're on your job, how you're relating to your community, how you're relating to your purpose. This all means something. It's all important. So I
So
appreciate you, B. Thank you, bro. Let me tell
appreciate you,
you
my
what,
man.
man. I appreciate your mind, man. I've always appreciated you as a person, man, and like getting to have these conversations with you. I really appreciate your mind and and the detail that you put into this, and how you're, how you present this. So I want to give you a props and heads up that,
Appreciate it.
as a young kid say, I want
Thank
to give you your flowers.
you. All right.
So yo,
Got my flowers.
I got your flowers, baby. So listen, people, peace. Thank you, thank you, thank you for
Mhm.
tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. If you found value in this, let us know what was the value you found in it, so we know that we're on the right track. We feel we are, we think we are, and it's great to get that feedback from you. And also, if there's other topics that you're curious about, you want to know about, then put that in the comments too. Let us know so we could put the time in and research and bring something that's going to support you. Brian,
100%.
any last words, bro, before you
No,
go on your
that was, that
trip?
was, that was, a, that was a beautiful outro. It was good.
My man.
All right.
Bless up, B.
What's up?
Peace, everybody.